Hello, everybody. Welcome to my studio. I'm Mary Rose Feldman. I'm a certified Zentangle teacher and an artist. And today in this class, we're going to play a little bit with Huggins. I'm going to show you the typical step outs how I do Huggins. It might be explained a little bit differently than how others do it. And then we're going to do a little tangleation of it to make a really cool monotangle tile. I'm going to use a regular Zentangle square tile, 3.5-inch square, but I invite you to use whatever supplies that you like. It can be a Zentangle tile of any shape or size. It can be a journal, it can be regular paper, it could be printer paper, it can be any pen you want. I totally encourage you to make these sessions your own. Add your own flair to it. Hopefully this approach inspires you in some way and you can take it into all different kinds of directions. But before we begin in doing the step outs, I'd like to just do a moment of gratitude, honor our Zentangle practice, get all of our senses in concert together so that we can have a nice moment of gratitude and mindfulness. So just sit nice and tall in your seat. You can make this as long or as short as you would like. You can pause the video and have your own ceremonial routine in whatever way feels good for you. I like to take a few good breaths, inhales and exhales, just at my own pace. I like to do a little body scan to see if there's any areas that are uncomfortable or tense. I like to imagine that good positive energy filling my lungs when I inhale. And I like to release my tension on the exhale. I think I'm getting rid of whatever is worrying me or stressing me out. Our affirmation for this session: my inner critic is in timeout so I can enjoy creative play. And you can have your own moment of gratitude. Okay, so here's the card today that I chose for our affirmation. This comes from my affirmation deck, and I literally, before my classes, shuffle it around, and whatever card comes to the surface for that day is the one I chose. So this happened to be what was on top for the day for today's class, and a lot of people like to see the actual card. So there you go. Okay, so let's practice Huggins. I have a sheet of paper here. I'm just going to use my regular 05 pen just for practice. This is a fairly common tangle by Zentangle headquarters. But I think most of the time you will see this started by putting orbs or dots in rows and columns. And I always like to do this as an independent item instead of setting up my rows and columns automatically. And this is how I do it. For me, the way I describe Huggins is 4 dots or orbs. Whatever, it could be squares too, I don't know, but I always do something round. And then there's 2 C curves that go towards the center. So if I'm looking at these 4 orbs, I think this is the center of that little rectangle. So these 2 pairs work in concert together. In other words, they go towards each other. They work as a pair. That's what I'm trying to say. They work as a pair. And then the other 2 C curves go away from the center, and they work as a pair. So this is a pair going towards each other, and this is a pair going away from each other. And that's how I always think of my Huggins, just as this independent shape. So if I want to add to that, here's 2 orbs already. I'm going to add another pair of orbs, but I'm not going to make them parallel. I'm going to make them kind of asymmetrical-ish. But I still have 1, 2, 3, 4 orbs. So that's all I need to make a Huggins shape, 4 orbs or 4 dots. Well, this one happens to have a line already defined for me, but it doesn't have its partner. So if this one goes away from the center of this quadrant, its partner has to go away from the center, even though it's not parallel, but they work as a team. That means that the other pair of C curves have to go towards each other, even though one is longer than the other. All I do is think about the pair of C curves, a pair that goes in and a pair that goes out. And if I've got that, I can take any 4 dots, orbs, whatever, and make it a Huggins. And you can just keep playing with that over and over and over again. We are going to do a little bit of a tangleation of Huggins. So I'm going to make 4 dots, and I'm going to make these a bit more spread out for the purpose of practicing this. I'm going to do my 2 C curves that go inward. That's one pair. And then my 2 C curves that go outward. And that's a pair. When I do tangleations, and especially when I did my tangleation series, which you can find in my Teachable School, and these classes have been inspired by that series, I always would try the tangle inside of itself, inside of itself, inside of itself, just to see what would happen. Well, for this one, to do Huggins inside of Huggins, I'm going to put in 4 dots within that Huggins shape. I'm going to keep the orientation the same as the outer shape, meaning that the inner curves are this direction, which means the outer curves are this direction. But what's going to make it more interesting is connecting the pair of orbs in the corner. And I'm going to connect them with an S curve that comes around the bottom. So in this corner, I come down here and I go up into an S curve. But in this corner, I come down and I come up into an S curve. So they mirror. We're kind of mirroring. Down here, it's an S curve this direction, and it's an S curve this direction. So this becomes Huggins inside of Huggins. If I were to make this bigger or oriented a little bit more square than rectangle, I could get another Huggins inside of Huggins. And on my paper from my Tangleations course, the Huggins inside of Huggins looks like that when you do another layer. You could also rotate them, which I think is a really cool tangleation of this tangle. It's a fun tangle to play with. So this is what we're going to do on our tile. 1 layer, Huggins inside of Huggins. And when we get done with this, I am going to show you the tile, but there's a caveat that goes with this, and you may have heard this in the other classes as well. I don't mind showing you the tiles ahead of time. I ask that you do not have them in front of you when you tangle, because when you're trying to copy exactly from any tile, mine or anybody else's, it changes your pen stroke. It changes your tension, it changes your focus, and it changes your experience of tangling. So I'm showing it to you just so that you have a big picture, but I would prefer that you have it closed or face down or not on your device while we're tangling. If we need to reference something, I'll put it on screen for you to reference. But this is where we're going to go. And this tile is Huggins inside of Huggins. Doesn't look like it. You can kind of get a feel for it, but you're not quite sure how you got there. We're going to break this down one pen stroke at a time. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to start my first 4 orbs somewhere in the center. Something like this. So we need enough space to do Huggins inside of Huggins. So we want these to be drawn big. We're going to run this off the page, as you can see. And just a reminder that I'm going at my own pace in the video. I'm going to do a step and go right to the next step. You might want to pause the video and enjoy your tangling time at whatever pace you like to tangle. But for the size of the video and the timing of the video, I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to put in my 2 C curves and my 2 other pair of C curves. The 2 pair go inward and 2 pair go outward. Then I'm going to come in and I'm going to put in my 4 orbs. Within that, 2 C curves. Don't worry if it's tall and skinny, it's all going to be fine. And then I'm going to connect my corners. So if you're getting confused about how to connect your corners, what I'm doing is I'm looking at this inside orb and I'm coming around the bottom of it. So coming around the bottom of it, and it'll naturally curve into the top of the outer one. Same here, from the bottom of the inner one to the top of the outer one. So here, if it's easier for you, you can turn it upside down, and then it's the same orientation. Bottom of the inner to the top of the outer, bottom of the inner to the top of the outer. So that's our first Huggins inside of Huggins. I'm going to turn it this way. Here's my 2 orbs. I'm going to make my other 2 orbs. There's one curve already defined for me. That goes outward. So its partner needs to go outward. Outward meaning if this is the center, it's going away from the center. And then these 2 curves go towards the center. Now I have my Huggins shape. All I need to do is add Huggins inside of Huggins. And connect. Okay, I'm going to repeat that over here, and I'm just going to let me repeat it this way so you get a different orientation, and then we're just going to keep going. So here's my 2 orbs. I'm going to add 2 more orbs. I have one line defined for me already, but this one goes towards the center. So its partner has to go towards the center, which means that the other pair goes away from the center. And then I'm going to orient Huggins because I tend to like it oriented this way. And then I'm going to come in and add my orbs for Huggins inside of Huggins. My inner curves are in the same direction as the outer Huggins. And then I'm going to connect my corners. And you can see that you're starting to get this really cool meta pattern, as Rick would call them. We are just going to keep building Huggins upon itself and Huggins inside itself. There's my outer curve, until we fill our tile. Now, as we do that, remember, you're going to be drawing off the page. So when I get to that, I'll show you a trick to do that if you're having trouble. Okay, so the first one I'm going to draw off the page is here. Right here I have an orb, an orb, and an orb. And my fourth orb is off the page. So one tip when you have this is you can take another piece of paper, put it behind your tile, and then tangle whatever would be off the page. And then just do your regular pen stroke. So I can see the whole Huggins shape now because I have this extra piece of paper here. And then I can add in my Huggins inside of Huggins. So I'm just tangling the whole thing right now. And when I'm done, all I do is remove my tile. And then there you have your tangling that would be seen. So that's just a tip if it's tough for you to visualize it. I'm going to do this one without the piece of paper. And to show you a different way, you can air draw it. So I want to think of my orb out here. Here's my inner curve. I'm going to draw my inner curve and then air draw. And then here's my outer curve. So this is my outer curve, and I'll air draw just to keep my hand in that motion. And then here I'll do Huggins inside of Huggins. This one's off the page. And I'll fill in where appropriate. And then I'll keep going. So here, sometimes here's where you can get confused. Right here I have two orbs. I'm going to add my two orbs again. But you see this line here and this line here. And it's easy to think that those are my inner curves, the C curves that go towards the center. But they are not. If this is my C curve that goes outward, the other pair of C curves goes towards the center, and they would be like this. And then you get that shape. So if you ever have a wonky line, it's just because you're thinking that these are your other pair of C curves, and they are not. put them in, and then it'll orient right to what you're expecting. Okay, so there is my Huggins inside of Huggins coverall. Okay, so you can pause the video, like I said earlier, and keep tangling. I am going to show you how I shaded this. And there's going to be a lot of approaches to how to shade this. So I encourage you to pick a rule and then just follow it and see where it goes. Tangle another one, pick a different rule. This is the rule that I chose, and I was going to do a couple different variations, and I liked it enough that I just stayed with it. But you just need to find these areas, because now it can be a bit complicated looking at this. So I'm finding that first Huggins that I put in right here in the center between these two fingers, and I look for that little S curve that I did from the inner orb to the outer orb. So here's the first Huggins that I drew. Here's my inner Huggins, and these are the 4 orbs from the inner Huggins. I am going to shade on the S curves along the outside of the inner Huggins and the outside of that S curve. So let me do the other side and then I'll blend it and show you. And this is tight shading. So we're not going to be able to blend this out very far because we need to keep that white and bright area so that we have some contrast on our tile. So with my tortillon, I'm going to blend this just a little bit, but notice that I kept the highlight area. So it's dark here and light here. Then I'm going to turn this around, so just so you can see where I put the shading. Right there. So this is my original Huggins. I'm finding the inner 4 orbs and I'm shading along the S curve that connected that inner orb to the outer orb and the outside stem of the inner curve, or the inner Huggins. Okay, so you kind of get an idea. So when I look at the next Huggins right here, I'm looking for my 4 inner orbs. Here's that S curve. Here's the S curve. I'm trying not to turn this much so that you guys can see it. Here's the S curve, and here's the S curve. And then I'm shading to connect the two. And I like to have the point of my graphite going towards my darkest area. I'm not always doing that on camera just because I'm trying not to turn my tile. It's confusing enough for everybody without me turning my tile left and right. So that S curve. And again, notice that I'm leaving a sliver of white. And you're going to do that all the way around to all of your Huggins inside of Huggins. And then we'll do another layer, another area. So this is the magic of a monotangle, and this is the magic of the tangleation. You can shade this probably 5 different ways and get 5 different looks. I'm going to stay in the order that I'm teaching it. And if you shaded an incorrect area, then just go with it. You can make up a different rule about what areas you want to shade. Oops. So that's pretty cool just by itself, just with that one rule. But I wanted to add more to this. So here's what I did. And again, make up your own rule if you want. So if I look at this channel, the dark side is here and the light side is here. This channel is completely empty. So I'm going to do the same thing. Dark side here, bright side here, and I'm going to do the same here. So when I blend that, dark, light, dark, and then that fades off. So I'm just going to turn my tile and I keep looking. So here's dark, this is dark, and this is dark. So this is a section, this is a section, this is a section. And I'm just going to treat them the same. Dark on the left, light on the right. Well, depending on how you're holding your paper, of course. And you have to maintain that light area. Otherwise, you're just going to make your whole tile dark. And that's not our goal. Our goal is for contrast. Oh, and I forgot a line. Forgot a pen line. So as I'm working my way through, because could be confusing as you're trying to navigate where everything is, I always turn my tile for the same orientation of view, meaning looking right here, so I turn my tile so my dark is on the left, my light is on the right, and I'm looking at the 3 sections. One is already shaded, and then the 2 that I'm ready to shade. So I always orient my tile to help my hand and to help my view. And that's why turning your tile is so important when we tangle, for that relaxation, that mindfulness piece of it, especially since we're not pre-planned. We're going in the flow. And that's where the magic is, where the creative play is. That's where the Zen and the mindfulness can be found. And you can see I'm not being super precise with my graphite, with my pencil. I could probably slow down a little bit on that, be a little bit more precise. I think I'm cautious of the length of the video, so I don't want to have it be too large or too long for anybody to watch. And I trust that my tortillon will do its job. And for some of these areas, you might just have to stop and slow down to think through what orientation you're looking at. Right now I'm just working on those outer edges where things ran off the page. Just making sure I got all my shading in there. And I have this little separate section right there that I'm just going to add a little graphite to. Okay. And there we go, a monotangle tangleation of Huggins. Remember to sign your name on your tile or in your journal. Go ahead and date it. For me, it's the 9th. And then put your chop on your front because we are proud of the tangling that we did. All right, and go ahead and take a nice good deep breath. Shake out your fingers a little bit. Have a calming pause for a moment of gratitude. I hope you enjoyed this short little class and our monotangle for today. I hope we get to tangle together again very soon. Have a great day. Bye. I hope you enjoyed that class and a little bit of tangle time for yourself and a good breath and a moment of gratitude. If you want a free class from me every month, all you have to do is join my email list. And I do a free full class every month that's usually about an hour and a half. You will also get access to a private web page that has all of the studio classes for that month and prior that you have full access to at any time. And that's a private web page, not public, that only the people on my email list get. And all I do is send a Monday email. It gives you updated class information about my upcoming retreat every year, new things that are coming out, interesting things happening in the studio. So every Monday you'll get an email with all of that information plus an affirmation to help you boost you through your week ahead. So check the link in the description here and also in the description of this class, and you'll be able to sign up on your own. You can unsubscribe anytime if those needs don't fit you anymore. You can unsubscribe at any time. There's no obligation. I'd love to have you here for whatever time you have available, for whatever time in your creative and mindful journey. I'd love to have you here. So thanks for watching. Bye.